You know, sometimes life doesn't take us in straight lines. Sometimes it takes us on detours, unexpected roads, unfamiliar terrain where it feels like we don't quite belong anywhere. And yet, it's in those seasons, those nomadic moments, that destiny is quietly being formed. Because purpose isn't found in permanence, it's revealed in the journey. The nomadic life isn't about wandering without direction. It's about trusting that even in motion, God is still guiding your steps. So today, I want to talk to the ones who feel unsettled. The ones in between where they were and where they're going. You're not lost. You're just being led. Movement is not confusion, it's preparation. So often, we mistake the motion of our lives for a lack of direction. We think that if things aren't stable, if we're moving from one season to the next, one relationship to another, one opportunity to another, that something must be wrong with us. We've been conditioned to believe that consistency equals clarity and that movement is somehow a symptom of chaos. But what if movement is not a sign of confusion at all? What if it's the evidence that God or life itself is preparing us for something greater than where we currently stand? Every great story in history, every person who has ever carried a divine purpose experienced movement before manifestation. Think about Abraham. He was called to leave everything familiar, his home, his land, his security, and go to a place that God would show him later. Not before, not during later. That means for a while, Abraham was just moving. He didn't have all the details, all the certainty, or all the comfort, but he had a word, a nudge, a sense that his movement had meaning even when his surroundings didn't make sense. That's what faith looks like in motion. Sometimes God will move you before he explains you. He'll allow shifts in your life that don't seem logical because preparation rarely looks like what you expect. Preparation isn't just about getting you to the promise, it's about getting the promise through you. It's shaping your character, stretching your endurance, teaching you obedience, and detoxing your dependence on things that once made you feel safe. If you're too attached to where you've been, you'll miss what's next. So movement becomes the tool that pries your hands open, forcing you to release what was so you can receive what will be. The nomadic life, the season of transition, the in-between isn't meant to confuse you. It's meant to refine you. When life feels like it's in motion, when the ground under you seems to shift before you can find balance, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. But maybe control was never the goal. Maybe clarity isn't found in standing still. It's found in learning to move with grace, to flow with faith, to understand that you can be guided without having all the answers. Movement is where you learn flexibility. It's where you discover that strength is not the ability to stay rooted in one spot, but the capacity to adapt, to stretch, to grow in unfamiliar places. When you're constantly moving, you become aware of what you can carry and what you cannot. You realize that not everything or everyone is meant to travel with you. Some relationships, habits, or mindsets were only designed for certain terrains. If you cling to them beyond their purpose, they'll weigh you down. Preparation often looks like separation. It's the process of traveling lighter so you can move further. There's a sacred rhythm in divine movement. It may feel like wandering, but it's actually orchestrated. Each step, each detour, each delay carries a lesson, a layer of wisdom that adds to who you're becoming. You may not recognize it in the moment, but hindsight will reveal that even the routes that felt unnecessary were essential. The places you passed through, the people you met briefly, the opportunities that seemed to vanish, they all left imprints that prepared your heart and sharpened your discernment for where you're going. Preparation through movement also tests your trust. When everything around you is shifting, you're forced to anchor yourself internally. You learn that peace isn't the absence of motion, it's the presence of stability within motion. You find your center not in the consistency of your circumstances, but in the consistency of your purpose. That's how you begin to thrive in transition instead of merely surviving it. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is this preparing me for? There's something powerful about moving while uncertain. It builds spiritual muscles that stillness never could. When you can keep walking, even when you don't know the destination, that's when you begin to operate on a different level of faith. That's when you learn that obedience is greater than understanding. God doesn't always bless clarity. He blesses trust. Movement becomes the training ground where trust matures. And let's be honest, preparation seasons are uncomfortable. They often strip away your labels, your titles, your familiar routines. They make you question your identity, your direction, your timing. But discomfort isn't the enemy, it's the catalyst. Growth rarely happens in the comfort zone because comfort protects who you are, while discomfort reveals who you're becoming. So when life starts moving, when things start shifting beyond your control, it might just mean that God is calling you to expand your capacity. If everything in your life stayed the same, you would never discover new dimensions of who you are. The movement is what exposes the depth of your potential. Each new environment demands a new version of you. Each season challenges you to access a part of yourself that you didn't know existed. That's why you can't despise. The nomadic chapters, they are sacred classrooms. They teach you resilience, discernment, and the art of transition. Think of a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it has to move from the hand of the sower to the soil, from the soil to the sprout, from the sprout to the sky. Every stage requires movement. But at no point is the seed confused. It's simply evolving. The same is true for you. Movement doesn't mean confusion. It means transformation. You're not lost. You're just in process. And here's the truth. When the preparation season is over, you'll understand why the movement was necessary. You'll look back and realize that every stop, every pause, every pivot built the strength you now walk in. You'll see how the places that once felt like punishment were actually preparation. You'll see how every no, every delay, every closed door redirected you toward alignment. So if you're in a season where nothing seems stable, where you feel like you're moving but not arriving, breathe. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're being built. God is not the author of confusion. He's the architect of preparation. The movement isn't meant to scatter you. It's meant to shape you. What feels like wandering is often divine choreography. And when the time is right, everything that once felt fragmented will align. You'll see that the path was not random. It was rehearsing you for the revelation that's about to unfold. So keep moving. Keep trusting. Don't confuse motion with meaninglessness. You're being prepared, positioned, and propelled toward a destiny that requires everything this season is teaching you. Movement is not confusion, it's preparation. Purpose is revealed in transition, not stability. There's something sacred about the in-between, the moments when you're no longer where you were, but not yet where you're going. Those are the spaces where purpose begins to whisper. It's easy to think that purpose shows up when life is calm, when everything fits neatly into place, when the plan is clear. But purpose rarely arrives wrapped in comfort. It's revealed in movement, in uncertainty, in the stretch between what was and what will be. Transition is not the enemy of purpose, it's the birthplace of it. We often crave stability because it feels safe. Stability gives us the illusion of control. It makes us believe we've arrived, that we know who we are and where we're going. But if you look closely at the lives of the people who changed the world spiritually, creatively, or socially, you'll notice something powerful. Their greatest revelations came in seasons of transition. Moses didn't discover his purpose while living comfortably in Pharaoh's palace. He found it in the wilderness during a season of displacement and identity crisis. David wasn't crowned king in stability. He was anointed while still running from Saul, living in caves, moving from place to place. Even Jesus stepped into the fullness of his assignment after leaving the quiet stability of carpenter life in Nazareth. Transition exposes purpose because it strips away everything that hides it. When life shifts, when the ground under you starts to move, that's when your inner foundation is tested. Transition has a way of confronting your assumptions about who you are. It forces you to ask questions you didn't need to ask before. What am I really here for? What do I believe when the structure I leaned on begins to crumble? What do I value when the familiar disappears? These questions aren't signs of weakness. They're signals that purpose is trying to surface. You can't discover destiny in comfort because comfort doesn't challenge your identity. Transition, however, demands that you evolve. Purpose is not a static thing. It grows with you. It unfolds through experiences that stretch you beyond your own understanding. Stability may give you peace, but transition gives you clarity. When life is steady, you tend to settle. You create routines that sustain your comfort but dull your curiosity. But when life starts shaking, when something ends, when doors close, when the plan you trusted no longer fits, that's when something inside you begins to awaken. You start to see possibilities you couldn't see before. You start to recognize strength you didn't know you had. Transition doesn't just move you to a new place, it moves you to a new level of awareness. Every transition is an invitation to transformation. It's the divine way of saying there's more. You might not feel ready for the next season, but purpose doesn't wait for readiness, it responds to willingness. You don't need all the details to move forward. You just need the courage to let go of what no longer serves where you're going. Sometimes the hardest part of transition isn't stepping into the new, it's releasing the old. But that release is what makes room for revelation. Purpose doesn't reveal itself in your comfort zone because purpose is bigger than your comfort. It's about impact, legacy, and evolution, and those things require tension. Transition introduces you to the unfamiliar so you can discover dimensions of yourself that comfort could never reveal. Think about a caterpillar. It doesn't become a butterfly by staying where it's comfortable. It has to go through the cocoon, through darkness, isolation, and transformation. That's what transition feels like. You might not recognize yourself. You might feel trapped between identities, unable to return to what was, but not yet ready for what's next. But even in that tension, something sacred is happening. You're being refined. In the still moments of transition, you'll start to see that purpose isn't something you chase, it's something that's uncovered. It's already in you, but transition is what peels back the layers of fear, doubt, and self-limitation so that it can emerge. When everything around you shifts, what's real in you begins to rise. Your gifts become clearer. Your convictions grow stronger. Your dependence on external validation begins to fade, and your awareness of divine direction becomes sharper. Transition reveals purpose because it isolates truth. When the noise of the old season quiets down, you finally hear your authentic voice. You may not understand the process while you're in it. You may feel like everything you knew is dissolving. But purpose often hides behind what feels like loss. Sometimes God has to unsettle what you built so he can reveal what he called you to. What looks like instability might actually be divine repositioning. You might think you're falling apart, but you're really being rearranged for alignment. The reason the old season doesn't fit anymore is because you've outgrown it. The reason the doors close is because the next chapter requires a different version of you. If you're walking through transition right now, if you're in a space where nothing feels certain, where you can't predict the next move, know this: you're not being punished, you're being prepared. Purpose is trying to find its expression through your life, and that requires shedding the old skin of certainty. Every step you take, even the ones that feel shaky, are part of a divine choreography. The pieces don't make sense yet because they're still being assembled. the beauty of transition is that it doesn't just reveal what you're called to do, it reveals who you're becoming in the process. Purpose isn't about a job title or a position. It's about alignment with identity. Transition strips away the roles you've played for others so you can meet the person you were always meant to be. It's the furnace where authenticity is forged. Stability can protect your image, but transition refines your essence. It makes you real. It makes you whole. And when you finally step into your next season, you'll realize that the instability you feared was actually grace in disguise. You'll see that every closed door redirected you toward your true calling. You'll understand that the waiting, the uncertainty, the shifts, they were all part of the revelation. Because purpose is not a destination you reach. It's a story that unfolds. Transition is just one of the chapters where your soul learns how to read the language of destiny. So don't resist the transitions. Don't fight the changes that seem to uproot your life. What feels like a breakdown is often a breakthrough in disguise. The movement, the tension, the uncertainty, they're the canvas where clarity is painted. And when the dust settles, you'll find that what once felt unstable actually strengthened your foundation. Purpose doesn't bloom in the stillness of stability. It blossoms in the sacred chaos of becoming. It's in the moments of transition that you discover what you were created for, not because life is easy, but because you learn how to listen, trust, and evolve. So if you're in that in-between space right now, don't be discouraged. You're not lost. You're not failing. You're being revealed. Because purpose isn't born in peace, it's born in process. And the process, as uncomfortable as it is always worth it. Home is not a place, it's alignment with destiny. There's something deep within every human being that longs for home. Not just a house or a physical space, but that feeling of belonging, of being seen, understood, and settled. We spend so much of our lives chasing that feeling. We search for it in people, in success, in relationships, in locations, in careers. We think if I can just get there, then I'll finally feel at home. But what if home isn't somewhere you find on a map? What if home is something you discover within yourself when your soul aligns with what it was created to do? For many of us, the word home has always been attached to geography. We think of it as a place with walls, memories, roots. But spiritually, emotionally, and purposefully, home is much more than that. It's the intersection of identity, purpose, and peace. It's the space where who you are, why you're here, and what you're doing are all in sync. Home is not about location, it's about alignment. Because if your external world looks perfect, but your inner world is out of sync, you'll still feel lost. And conversely, you can be far from comfort, far from familiarity, yet feel completely at peace because your spirit knows it's where it's supposed to be. Home is a vibration, not a destination. It's the frequency of your destiny resonating inside your soul. When you're walking in alignment with that, no matter where you are, you carry home within you. You can be in the wilderness and still feel centered. You can be surrounded by uncertainty and still feel grounded. Because alignment anchors you deeper than any physical address ever could. Think about the story of the prodigal son. He left his father's house chasing what he thought would fulfill him. He went searching for freedom, excitement, independence, but in the process, he lost connection with who he really was. The turning point wasn't when he ran out of resources, it was when he remembered his identity. He said, I will arise and go to my father. But the real homecoming didn't happen when he walked back into the house. It happened the moment he realigned his heart with his purpose. That's when he came home to himself. So many of us are like that. We wander searching for home in external things. We move cities, change jobs, switch relationships, hoping that something outside will quiet the unrest inside. But the truth is, you can't find peace in a place if your spirit isn't aligned. You can change your surroundings 100 times, but until your soul finds its center, you'll always feel like a nomad. Home isn't about where you live. It's about what lives within you. Alignment with destiny begins when you stop chasing comfort and start pursuing clarity. Comfort says, I want to feel safe. Clarity says, I want to feel right. And those two don't always exist together. Sometimes being aligned with your destiny means stepping into uncomfortable spaces, leaving familiar places, and walking into seasons that stretch you. Because destiny doesn't live in ease, it lives in truth. And truth has a way of pulling you out of what's predictable so you can experience what's possible. Home is the place where your truth and your purpose meet. It's the sacred ground where your soul exhales and says, this is who I was meant to be. That doesn't always come with applause or recognition. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's lonely. But it's always powerful. Because when you're in alignment, peace replaces performance. You no longer feel the pressure to prove who you are because you're simply being who you are. You move from striving to flowing. You stop chasing validation and start embodying value. That's the essence of home. There's a unique kind of rest that alignment brings. It doesn't mean your life becomes easy. It means your heart becomes steady. You stop living in fragments. You stop existing in the tension between who you are and who you pretend to be. You begin to live whole, and that wholeness radiates through everything you do. You begin to make decisions not from fear or need, but from alignment. You start recognizing that not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every invitation deserves your yes, and not every connection leads to your destiny. Alignment teaches you discernment, and discernment keeps you home. In this life, many will offer you places that look like home, but aren't aligned with your destiny. They'll feel safe for a while, but eventually suffocating, because anything that doesn't match your purpose will eventually drain you. That's why discernment is crucial. You have to be able to tell the difference between peace and comfort. Comfort can feel good, but peace feels right. And when you've experienced true alignment, you'll never settle for imitation again. Sometimes alignment will require you to leave what others call home. It might mean walking away from environments, expectations, or identities that no longer fit. That's not rebellion, that's revelation. Because the more you grow, the more you realize that not every space can hold who you're becoming. You're evolving. And evolution often requires relocation, not always physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. To stay aligned with destiny, you must be willing to outgrow what was once familiar. And that's where many people get stuck. They cling to the past because it feels like home. But home isn't behind you, it's within you. It travels with you. It's not something you leave. It's something you carry. When your soul is aligned with your purpose, every place becomes sacred ground. You realize that even the wilderness has beauty. Even the waiting has purpose. Even the detours have design. Because alignment transforms every space you enter. You don't go looking for home, you bring it with you. This understanding changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing destinations and start honoring direction. You stop obsessing over where you're supposed to be and focus on who you're supposed to be. When who you are aligns with what you're called to do, everywhere you go becomes an extension of home. Your peace is no longer tied to outcomes, it's tied to obedience. You realize that alignment isn't about control, it's about surrender. Home is found in that surrender. It's in the quiet yes to your calling. It's in the daily decision to walk by faith when sight feels limited. It's in the trust that even when life shifts, your soul can remain anchored because it knows who it belongs to. That's the kind of home that storms can't shake, that change can't uproot. That's the home built not on sand, but on truth. One day, you'll look back and understand that every place you thought was random, every transition you thought was disorienting, every move you thought was misdirection, it was all guiding you toward alignment. You weren't just moving from one place to another. You were being refined, centered, and prepared to live from a deeper sense of home. You'll realize that home was never a where, it was always a who. And that who was you, whole and aligned with destiny. So wherever you are right now, stop searching for home in external things. Pause, breathe, listen to the rhythm of your soul. If it's restless, It's not because you're lost. It's because something in you is longing for alignment. Follow that longing. Let it lead you to peace, to truth, to purpose. Because when you find that, you'll find home. And once you found home within yourself, guided by divine alignment, no matter where life takes you, you'll never be lost again. As I close, I want you to remember this. Life was never meant to be lived standing still. Every twist, every turn, every unfamiliar path is part of a divine choreography shaping who you're becoming. The nomadic life isn't about wandering without meaning. It's about walking with faith through the seasons that prepare, reveal, and align you. You may not always know where you're going, but trust that the movement has purpose. You may not always feel stable, but understand that transition is where destiny begins to speak. And when the dust settles, you'll realize that home was never a destination. It was the moment your soul came into alignment with your calling. So, if you find yourself in motion right now, uncertain, in between, searching, don't despise this season. Embrace it. Every step you take, even the ones that feel unsure, are building something eternal in you. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not wandering. You are being woven into the story that was written for you before time began. Movement is not confusion, it's preparation. Transition is not chaos, it's revelation. And home is not a place, it's alignment with destiny. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep believing that even when you can't see the full map, the journey is sacred. Because the nomadic life isn't about where you've been or even where you're headed. It's about who you're becoming along the way. And when you finally look back, you'll see that every road, every valley, every mountain was leading you right where you were always meant to be home.